variety as well as a more clumping variety. You'll see both for sale. These are the ones spreading by rhizomes, the horizontal stems. Violets, lots of great species of violets. Some are more prolific than others. Partridge berry, thalictrum. This is basically, you'll see these lists like this, and I'm of course no different. It's a who's who of favorite native plants. Some are easier to grow than others and are showier. Green and gold is widely available. They also, widespread species, also both clumping varieties as well as ones that spread by runners. You don't see hepatica for sale too often, but they're awfully beautiful. I love, hepaticas are always the very first sign of spring in many parts of the world. And I have a really fond memory in Germany when I was a postdoc there of trooping out with my lab group in the snow to look for the first hepatica flower. And I said, wow, this is pretty intrepid, and we did find one. And so our species also are some of the earliest. Mayapple form great carpets, wonderful plants. Bloodroot, very easy to grow, also early to flower, spreads itself around. Wild ginger, both the evergreen wild gingers and deciduous wild ginger, also fairly easy to grow. Allegheny spurge is not so easy to grow, but it's a nice alternative to Japanese pachysandra. A couple of our tougher ferns, we have, some of them are really, Christmas fern is partially evergreen, southern lady ferns, easy to grow. Some of them will form great huge mats. Yeah.
Is the lady fern the one that you frequently see on roadsides in very dry soil? Which one is that one? Because I've got areas just like that. I want some.
It's not, I'm not really sure which one you're talking about. We have incredibly tough ferns like bracken fern, which is kind of big. Does it look like lady?
It's not quite so thick as that. It has fewer.
My guess would be, yeah, you'd probably need to get a piece. If you have some and you want to send me a photo or something, feel free to, or bring a piece when Patrick comes. He knows it. He's a walking encyclopedia. Yeah. Yeah, bracken fern would be my guess, but it could be, they're small and they're deciduous. Could be New York. Yeah, they're ferns. A good place to look at ferns is Botanical Gardens of Asheville, because they have them all labeled, and it's a really good place to kind of fern ID skills. Bluebells require a nice neutral pH. They're easy to grow if you have that. You don't see them in many of our forests because there aren't that many neutral sites. Where you do see them, you'll see carpets. Trout lilies, wonderful to have, will spread well. A lot of ant dispersed seeds with these. And they are ant dispersed when they have little eliosomes. Lots of our woodland wildflowers are dispersed like this. They're fatty, and the ants carry the seed, feed the fatty lipid body to their larvae, and then the seeds get moved around. And what has been really fun is we had one big big bloodroot, this one here, and we planted it out front in this little patch, and sure enough, we've been having all these new bloodroot seedlings pop up, and it's just so much fun. Like this last spring, I thought, wow, look, there's all these bloodroots that are now out there, and so just from that one plant. I think they have a compound that, they have this really red sap, and they have a compound called sanguinine in them. And they are very abundant in the one part of the botanical garden that we do have deer. So I don't know the answer to that. Deer will eat anything practically if they're hungry enough, and it's a dry year. I would try them. They're they really love trilliums and hostas, of course. So I know we've taken a bit more time than maybe we needed to on this subject, but if you, I do have posted on the right-hand side of my blog, which is called Natural Gardening, a version of this presentation in a PDF version you can click on. And I believe this handout too, but that's not so, you've already got a paper copy of it. I will mention that these 3 books that I know that Bill Colina has done, if you really are interested in learning more about how to grow from a horticultural point of view some of these plants, his books, there's one about wildflowers, there's one about native ferns and mosses, and one about trees, shrubs, and vines are really great resources. Because he's actually growing them, they're a lot more useful than some gardening books might be. I feel free to contact me. I think email address on that. If you're if you have other questions, now that I no longer having to go to the garden to worry about budgets and program planning, I just can come and teach classes and do fun things. I'm always glad to help where I can. So thank you for all that you're doing to preserve land in this area and your own efforts and any volunteer activities in that regard that you're doing. Thank you. Yeah.
Do you have some sort of guidance for, you've got your canopy, you've got mid-level, you've got shrubs, and you've got different varieties for each of these. Do you have some rule of thumb for opening that you need to have your canopy for your mid-level type stuff? Because we've got an issue with all of this land out here becoming everything, but it's never been really tended and requires slightly thinning.
Right. That's a really good point to make, and it depends on the size of your landscape. I would try to think like nature. You're going to plant closer together than you'd think of in a horticultural landscape setting, but you may also be prepared to thin out things as well. So, but I'll be glad to answer questions after we stop too. I know people are needing to go for lunch.
I have a question about hellebore. Is that a native plant?
No, it's from Asia.
Is it ready to move in my urban area?
It's a great tough plant for dry shade. We have it extensively